Hello, vinyl community. George here, and of course that means you're watching George Allen's LPs and CDs channel, in case you didn't know where you were at. And I have a little bit different topic I'm going to talk about this morning. And this came up because of a question that somebody asked in the comments from my last video. So I thought that I would spend just a few minutes talking about it. And I don't want the video to run too long, but it just kind of struck a chord with me. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about was this. A very recognizable album cover, and that's The Who's Tommy. And of course that came up because the last video we did was for Christopher's channel on the year that we were graduated from high school. And hopefully everybody that did a video had graduated from high school. 1969 was my year. I didn't do my video on this album, and I'm not going to go back into that because it doesn't matter. But this was one of the ones that I had mentioned, and I had a picture of it up on the wall, which isn't on the wall any longer because it's in my hand. But there's a comment made about this. Anyhow, influential album. And you know, up until the Who did this album, they were just one of many bands that were a long line of what they called the British invasion bands. And of course at that time they still had all the original members, you know, Pete Townsend guitar, writing most of the songs, John Entwistle on bass, both of them fantastic musicians, Roger Daltrey singing, throwing that microphone around, and of course Keith Moon, that phenomenal drummer. And a lot could be said about all these guys. And they had you know, a few hits, and I remember as a teenager learning to play drums, trying to play the drums to I Can See for Miles. I mean, that was like, wow. Trying to learn to play that song was rough. So they had some pretty decent hits, but you know, it wasn't until they did this album, this is what really threw them into the stratosphere, so to speak. They started recording this in September of 1968. Was released in, I believe, May of 1969, and since then, I don't know how many different versions of this have been released. This is a 2013 180 gram version. I think there's probably, since this one, there's been others, and you can watch videos where guys just talk about all the different versions of it. And Michael at 45, Michael 45 RPM audio file, he does some nice talking on it. I saw another one where recently where a guy went through like 8 or 10 different versions and which one's the best one. And I'm not here to talk about that, because when it comes right down to it, it's the music too. You find a decent copy and you listen to it. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And you know, what's funny is, doing a little research, Pete Townsend went through about 4 or 5 different names before they settled on the name Tommy, and some of them were pretty strange. But we got what we got. And, you know, one of the things that I discovered with this is, and this is really kind of the heart of the matter, and it's that way with a lot of music, is that I have certain CDs that I mainly listen to in the car, okay? Others that I listen to here in the music room. And of course, this I could not listen to in my car. And I don't have this on CD, and I don't probably plan on getting it on CD. But what I found fascinating was, before I made this video, I actually listened to it all the way through. It's 75 minutes. I didn't realize it was that long. But, you know, 2 records, 4 sides, 75 minutes. I did not time it. I found that information out on the internet, 75 minutes. So I never timed it. So I listened to it all the way through here in the music room. What I didn't realize, that this was the first time I listened to Tommy all the way through by myself. To me, Tommy has always been more of a communal type listen. You just don't listen to it by yourself. It's never been that way. When it first came out in '69, I was in college. And we used to, at least, I'd listen to it maybe with a friend of mine when it came out. I'd listen to it at college with one of my roommates. Sometimes we'd get a whole group of people together. Of course, back in those days, you'd get a whole group of people together, and yeah, you'd kind of have a little party over it. We'd have a Tommy party, and we'd listen to it. But that was just so strange. I happened to be thinking about that as I was listening to it this past weekend. I thought, George, you're listening to Tommy by yourself. You know, this is like really weird. So kind of my question is, and I'd like to know in the comments, because most of you are familiar with this, I would be willing to bet a large portion of you have this album or had it, is how do you listen to it? Have you listened to it more often by yourself? Do you just listen to it with a close friend? Do you listen to it with a group of people? Do you try and get people to listen to it together? How do you listen to Tommy? That's basically the question here. And I'd like to know. You tell me. Okay? Because to me, it's always been a communal listen. And I don't mean it like, you know, hey, you have to be a bunch of hippies or something to get together. It doesn't have to be that way at all. Look, my age, my hippie days are long gone, you know. That was 50 years ago. But, you know, what do you do? How do you listen to it? Let me know, please, in the comments. I love your comments. I got a great bunch of people that are always open and honest with me with their comments. So tell me how you listen to Tommy, okay? And it's the beginning of the week, so you got a few days. Let me know. Have a great week, vinyl community. And if you don't want to talk about Tommy, tell me how you listen. Maybe it's some other record that motivates you. Some other record that since this came out, maybe there's some other music you listen to as a group. How do I know? Maybe I'm out of touch with the world. Okay? Have a great week, folks, and we'll see you in the vinyl community. Bye-bye.